Vase wins it. I wouldn't take that pride. Actually, I think he's about the right price. I think he's the one for me.
Glory Vase, pole driver, and the English filly. I don't think it's a hard race. They stand out.
I'm going to have something each way on the French filly Ebe at around $7.
It's Glory Vase, though, on the outside of Pile Driver. Ibira third. Glory Vase is in front of Pile Driver. One Vase is good. Two Vases are better. Glory Vase won it.
This was the race that I just thought there might be a bit of value, even with a horse like HKIR with who Moreira's riding. But, gee, if what Ryan Moore said is right about Love's Only You, I'm going to have to readdress my market, and she'll be hard to beat.
Love's Only You. Like, she won in Hong Kong earlier. She won the Breeders' Cup. She's done nothing wrong. Got a good gait. You know, it's the one to beat.
And Love's Only You's getting out now. Russian Emperor, HKIR. Love's Only You's in the middle. Still Russian Emperor in front. Love's Only You flashing through the centre. Out wide HKIR. It's Japan 1-2. Love's Only You says sayonara with the cup.
I think you'll win it. I think you'll settle close in the run. I wouldn't want to take $1.50, but he's something special. There's no doubt. He's the one to beat.
I agree. I've got Golden 60 on top. I don't want to take the price, whereas last week I was happy in Australia to take $1.50.
But Golden 60 is he's very special. He's very special. Probably as good a horse as anyone's had in Hong Kong, I would have thought. Especially at the mile.
Golden 60, they roar for their hometown hero. He's a length clear over Salios, running on Mother Earth. It's Golden 60. The locals can't beat him. The internationals can't beat him. This is his house. Fortress Golden 60.
Welcome to another edition of the Hong Kong Racing Podcast. Jason Richardson, Clint Hutchison, the Hall of Famer, and Shane Dye. That's right, Hutchi, the Hall of Famer, and the host. There's so much to talk about. What an unbelievable season we had. What an incredible international meeting we had. Hello, Shane Dye. Hello, Hutchi first.
Hello, there's Richo and everyone listening in. Yeah, it was a great day, wasn't it? I mean, I think we played pretty true. Of course, we had an incident, one of the big races, which we'll touch on in a minute. But from the Hutchie's Honkers perspective, it was good. I thought it played pretty straight. Good finish to the day in some respects. Last race wasn't great viewing. We'll also touch on that a little later. But no, we had a profit. During the week was a lot tougher. Missed it by a mile, but you get those days.
Yeah, Hutchie's Honkers was flying on International Day. It got to the point where the last race would have just been the cream on the top of the cake. So we accepted the win. We were well in front, but that last race still hurts. I woke up this morning at 4 o'clock and started sucking my thumb just thinking about it.
I wanted to actually ask Shane if I could have his Veandercross this week, and he was having none of it. But, it would have made my list if I was able to do that. But Shane was having none of it.
That's his area. Hello, RS Diet.
No, mate, he can get his own segment or make up another one. That's fine.
What did you think of international meeting, mate? We're going to go through all the races. We've got a very special guest, Vincent Ho, is going to join us, which will be absolutely fascinating. Golden 60, of course, was the star of the show. So we'll hold Golden 60 to a side. Firstly, Shane, did you make a nice profit?
Yeah, I had a good day. Sunday, had a good day Wednesday. I had to take shorts on Sunday, but they all looked like winning, and they won, of course, but there wasn't much value there on Sunday. Wednesday night, I had one bet, Kung Fu Panda. So that was good.
One bet, I like it. Oh, hey, we're going to learn a lot today because I often ask a lot of questions, especially for those that have, like me, love their Hong Kong racing but are still on the learning curve and enjoying a lot of it. So we're going to join a very special guest today, Hutch. Tell us all about the role that he plays and how important it is in Hong Kong racing.
Oh, with Ian Malpass, yeah, of course, who is working in the handicapping department and the race planning. And so it's an important role. And I think there's a lot of people that also want to know just about the basic system in Hong Kong. We've touched on parts of it on the podcast in the past, but I think just a more in-depth view on that. And secondly, we'll also get a bit of a rundown on some of the international ratings, how those international races rated, and, the winners and how it all marries up with the international form. And we've got one or two questions for Ian with regard to that in terms of the Japanese in particular, because they always seem to me, be a little underrated on where they're really at. But we'll let him explain some of that.
So that's our very special guest, Ian Malpass, will be joining us later on in the program. Of course, we've got the Genius or Slaughter We like to call it the Ocky or the Veandercross. We're going to find you a stack of winners. Racing is on Saturday, not on Sunday. Racing on Saturday at Sha Tin, and a little blend between the turf and also the all-weather. So 10 races on the card. We'll find you a stack of winners because that's what Hutchi and RS Dye have been doing. But first, let's reflect on Sunday.
Glory Vase is in front of Pile Driver. One Vase is good. Two Vases are better. Glory Vase won it. The big chestnut's in front. He's going to win the sprint. Skyfield beat Resistencia. Running on Mother Earth, it's Golden 60. The locals can't beat him. The internationals can't beat him. We're in front. Loves Only You flashing through the centre. Out wide HKIR. It's Japan 1-2. Loves Only You.
The international meeting. Let's start with the Hong Kong Vase. Hutch, where do we start there?
It looked to be a racing two, didn't it, on paper? And I think, it played very much to script. The majority of Hong Kong horses were well beaten in that, as we expected, and it ended up Pile Driver being runner-up, of course, to Glory Vase, who was confidently and patiently ridden by Joe Moreira. I think the first sort of part of the race was pretty steady, and then the pace ramped up a little thereafter. But look, I think it was interesting when Pile Driver veered back to the inside, and I know we had a couple of winners win there on the day, but in the straight, I just still prefer to be just off that fence a little bit, and he was probably close enough to the tempo as well. But look, he was good. He probably ran to his mark. The way I rated the race, it actually didn't rate that high. It was, but yet the form sort of ran true. So I thought it was a good win to Glory Vase, who'd been there before and done it. Pile Driver probably beaten a fair margin in the end. Would have loved to probably seen him for those backers who followed him and just stay out deeper on the course. But the horse looked, Shane, like he wanted to roll back to the inside, which I thought, that's going to give Joe a good chance out wider.
I think the main thing was down the back when the pace increased by two horses that had no hope in the race and were always going to stop. He chased them and he didn't need to. And that probably was his undoing. But you see here, the horse that you said, Pole Driver, rolls back to the fence, which isn't suitable. He would have been better out wide with the stick in his right hand, keeping him out there. The winner was too good, Clint. He looked the winner before the race. You had to take the shorts, but Joe gave him a good ride. Joe wasn't very patient the first two races of the day, and I thought he rode both his horses poorly in the first and the second, but there he was perfect. Gave it a very good ride, showed patience, which you got to do in big races, and he was too good.
Shane, picture this. So it's this pleasant Sunday afternoon in Australia and the international meeting. Normally we would love to be there. In fact, what we'll do one year, we'll take the Hong Kong horse racing podcast family, and you are all a family, with us, and we'll do a tour over to Hong Kong for the International Week. Shane Dye will be guest speaker at every function, and he'll get the cash in, and then we'll spend it for everyone. That's how we'll go about it, if you don't mind, Hutch. But Shane, we couldn't do that this year.
I'll tell you one thing. Clint will know the clubs and the right clubs to go to.
Well, he's in control of that. You're in control of generating the cash, and I'll entertain all of our family that's coming.
I know where they are. Just got to make sure I leave on time.
That's right. And don't leave your card behind, because we tend to spend up on that thing. Anyway, Shane, we couldn't go this year, so we all met at a Melbourne pub. The roar for the Hong Kong Cup when this incredible Japanese mare finished her career in style. She got there just on the line, but by gee, Hutch, for a while down the straight, we were a little worried.
Well, we were, because she was locked away, and Jode got that first run, and at that calibre, or in any race for that matter, I mean, Shane will explain how difficult it is. So she had to pick herself back up. She was tight for room. And we had Russian Emperor. I don't know why Russian Emperor went it looked to be laying in, but probably went also back to the fence, which wasn't ideal. And this is where Joe, you can see him shift ground. Shane, he does this a lot late in his races, Joe. You'll see him. He always goes towards the dangers in the race, and he got a little brush. Of course, she pulled up lame after the race as well, Loves Only You, and she was galloped on too, yeah. But I just thought that was interesting from Joe, just shifting ground inside. You'll see him. I'm sure he wouldn't have wanted to make contact there with Loves Only You, but he doesn't mind shifting ground a little bit late, and he often cuts a very fine line. But I thought he rode his horse really well, and he nearly pinched it. HKIR was fantastic. And Shane, the 1-2 once again with Japan, and that was, I think, the right result.
Oh, definitely. There was no real unlucky runner in the race. The best horse won. She's proved that for the last 12 months. winning the Breeders and, of course, winning in Hong Kong. I think it was in April. She was very impressive then. And she wasn't overly impressive, but she toughed it out. Got a very good ride, very confident ride, and was just too good. Had to take the shorts, but I was happy to take the shorts.
Nelly unlucky, right? It's interesting you say take the shorts. I thought she was overs. I couldn't believe they were still offering 260 leading into the race. Did you think she was actually overs?
Yeah, I did. I priced shorter. I just thought
I thought she deserved to be a touch shorter, and I think the runner-up was way over the odds, as we pointed out last week. It was you'd only needed her to get held up a touch more, and HKJC wins the race. And
you don't know anyone who took like a longer price, like locked in, say, a month out, do you?
Oh, we do know someone's got something to do with this show. He helps put it all together. So let's get another painful watch for him too.
Can you imagine that, Shane? When you've got what sort of price are we dealing?
About $26.
Around $26, and you shoot clear, and the short price favourites held up inside.
I had one Wednesday night. They bet $34 in Australia into 18s about lunchtime, and geez, it was getting held up for a couple of strides. And I was saying, get into the clear, and it only just got the bob and Kung Fu Panda started 18s. So,
and then gave it
good
the big
you get overs.
It's beautiful. Hey, you're great friends at G1 Goldmine. I'll ask them this question. Loves Only You. She's a magnificent deep impact mare. She wins the Group 1.
Yeah, well, I wanted to bring it up.
Where does she get served by?
Well, it's interesting who she gets served by, but I think this is a really good, point about Group 1 Goldmine and the fantastic work they do in terms of the product that they use. It's all analytics, it's statistics-based, and if you see on the caption that we've got up here or the picture of what you can do, the gold is highlighted by obviously outstanding formulas in terms of the matches with an FFNA would be the one with that Loves Only You, 20 out of 20 match. So I just find it really interesting in terms of, particularly if you go into the sales or you've got to you go to buy a yearling, or if you're also, you've got a broodman, you're thinking, where should we go? Well, we're giving our own advice here, Richo, and based on the stuff from Group 1 Goldmine, FFNA would be an absolute perfect match, 2020, and it shows you the crosses, and it's all statistics-based, which is the important thing. So it's analytics and it's factual, which I find it quite just very intriguing.
Let's talk about the Hong Kong Sprint, Hutch, before we chat to Vincent Ho, because we'll save the mile and the mighty performance of Golden 60 when Vincent joins us. The Sprint, well, this was a moment in world horse racing that we just hate to see, but by gee, this looked horrible on the corner, didn't it? Everyone, doesn't matter where you're watching, you just felt sick in your stomach. And straight away, our thoughts were with the horses, the owners of the horses and the horses, but also with the jockeys. The good news is the jockeys, all the jocks will make a speedy recovery. We think about David Hayes with Naboo Attack, and we pay our great respect to him and the connections for losing Naboo Attack. But it was a horror. It was
terrifying. I mean, at the first glance, you thought a couple of those riders weren't going to make it. And it's just one of those incidents we hate to see at any stage, of course. And, on that day in that race when the whole world's watching in particular, I mean, it isn't great. I mean, we've had a review really in the Melbourne Cup with horses breaking down, but I presume that Jockey Club will be doing a similar thing, because Amazing Star, who did break down, was 200 to 1. Great article written by Dave Morgan in relation to all this as well. And, did he deserve to be in the lineup? Well, I suppose there was one piece of his form that was okay, but the reality was he'd been finishing last and was, he wasn't going to attract any turnover. He wasn't in good form, but he passed all the checks to go there. So I'm sure they'll be doing a review, but for me, I'd rather just have the race filled with the chances anyway. So that's a point of discussion to an extent. But, yeah, it was a horrible incident, and thankfully the boys are all okay. We've had updates. Zach Purton had a broken wrist. I think he was out for a few weeks. Lyle Hewitson, he didn't move to begin with, and it just looked horrible. But
Blake Shin posted a photo, visiting him in hospital. He said, mate, it's a miracle.
It is a miracle.
Shane, can you explain to us mere mortals what that's actually like to be in a heavy, if you're not knocked out, so therefore you don't forget.
Interesting, Richo. There's different type of falls, right? And someone said to me, do they teach you to fall? Anyone that says you're taught to fall, it's a load of biggest shit I've ever heard. When you fall, it happens so fast, you can't react. It's a split second. So there's different falls. The one I had in Hong Kong on the horse with my brain injury, I clipped heels. Now, clipping heels is the worst fall you can have because you get the horse's heels in front of you and you hit the horse's heels in front of you and you go straight down. The horse just goes straight down and you get thrown over the top head first into the ground going 45 miles an hour. That's the worst fall. Then you have a slippery track like in New Zealand and you slip. They're easy falls because the horse is slipping and you know he's going to roll to the side and you go down. You go down gently because you're sliding and you can roll away from that. That fall was on the weekend was very similar to the one at Ipswich about 8 years ago when 8 horses fell. When they break their legs, what happens is they go straight down, but they spread all of a sudden. They don't do a flip like clipping heels and they don't slide out. They just go straight down. So what happens is everything following them hits them hard. And that's what happened. And you cannot react. You just go straight down hard with it. But it's no good. You can't be taught. You're in the lap of the gods. And what happens, who knows? They're all lucky, the boys, even though they've got fractures and whatever, but they're going to live to breathe another night.
And that's just why we've got so much respect. I'm wearing a Ty England hat on. So much respect for the jockeys, what they're able to do. And Shane, you're one of the all-time greats. What you're able to do, and the fact that you're sitting here chatting to us about it gives us a great insight because those little warriors of the turf are the gutsiest sports people, I reckon, on the planet.
I reckon, Richo, I was trying to count them the other day. I had about 20 race day falls in my career, and someone said, how many times were you concussed? And I'd worked it out, 10 concussions and falls, where I can't remember the day, or there was one day there. Even the following day, I had no idea. You know, you'd go in and out of consciousness. So I had about, 20 race day falls, 10 concussions. But luckily, I should be dead. I'm here to breathe a day. And why, I don't know. Who knows? It's in the lap of the gods. I'm a lucky.
Like you said, they are warriors. I mean, I didn't realise, actually, I was given a book not long ago, a couple of years ago, and how many riders since racing in Australia had started have passed away, all track riders, etc. I mean, it's a frightening amount. So all respect to them. I mean, like you said, they are very, very brave.
They're
very
up there
brave.
with F1, Formula One drivers. No doubt. They're right there as the gutsiest sportsmen and women on the planet.
Richo, one quick thing. To save yourself, you got to roll. If you're rolling, you're safe when you're falling. It's when you hit the ground hard, and that's why clipping heels. But you can't always roll. But that's the best way to fall. Roll and you'll get out of trouble.
Okay, let's just go back to the actual race. Put the fall aside. Was it the right winner, Hutch? And if it wasn't for the fall, who should have won? Who was travelling the best before the fall versus the horse that actually won?
I think me and Shane and I might see this one a little differently.
Hey, no, that's why I'm lobbing this one up.
Yeah. I look, Lucky Patch was in the 3-wide trail. If he runs to his form of his previous 2 runs against taking a line through Skyfield, I'm pretty sure he's very, very hard to beat. He was getting the right run in the race. It's actually interesting. You could see he was contemplating just popping off the heels of Amazing Stud just prior to the incident. And I know I understand why he didn't want to go that soon. But if that horse runs to that mark again, and we'll never know because, you just don't know these things. But for mine, I thought Lucky Patch, with the run he had, he's formed this season and leading into this race with where he was positioned, he would have been very hard to beat.
Agree, Shane?
No, not at all. He might have won. I don't know. Who knows? It's irrelevant. But the horse, I thought, had the best run in the race, was back last. If you watch the video, he was going better than anything, and he looked so good. He could have gone in or out. He was coming out, and that's Pixie Night. I've watched it 100 times, the race, and every time I come up with the same winner. If I had one horse to pick I wanted to be on, it would have been Pixie Night at the 700. At the 500, I definitely wouldn't want to be on him, that's for sure. But he looked the winner to me. I'm not disagreeing with Clint because he was in the right position. The other one that was travelling well, of course, was Naboo Attack. But I thought he was travelling a bit too hard to win. And I'm sure he was travelling that hard that Teton would have thought this is going to win for sure. But sometimes those type of horses there at the 600 travelling like that don't kick as well as you think. So we'll never know. Skyfield's done nothing wrong. He's raced well all year without winning, finishing in behind. And he was always going to win a race like that one day. And I've kept saying that. He runs very good sectionals. He got the luck on the day. Everything went right for him, and he's won a great Group 1 race.
Just on that note as well, while we're discussing some of the stuff, Richo, as well, with regards, obviously, the tragedy that occurred in the Hong Kong Sprint. Hutchi goes, look, we had a good day. We'd love to support, the horses once post their career and what we can do. So we're going to make a $500 donation as well to Living Legends for some of those horses post-career. And I think it's important, if you had, and also any of the listeners had a winning day there, make sure you give them something in their retirement as well, because I think it's the right gesture to do, because we love these animals as well. And it was a tragedy for a couple in that race. So I think they do a fantastic job at Living Legends. Amongst other groups as well, but we just wanted to give them a support because they do need the support at the end of the day.
Absolutely, they do. I think Sacred Kingdom's been there, Good Baba. So there's been many great Japanese, Hong Kong horses, and hopefully Japanese in the future. Hong Kong horses who are based at Living Legends. It's here in Australia, in Tullamarine. So let's add a little sprinkle of stuff. And the man who had the job of steering the number one horse in Hong Kong, arguably the number one horse in the world, we're saying, because we absolutely love him in Golden 60, is Vincent Ho, who has been kind enough to jump on the line. Vincent, hopefully you can hear us loud and clear, and hopefully you've still had many celebrations since that unbelievable win to Golden 60. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, and thank you very much for having me.
It's great to have you. Can you take us through that incredible win by Golden 60 in the International in the Great Mile?
Yeah, it was incredible jumping out from gate 2, which is always a little bit tricky, and especially for him because we're not going forward or anything. And horses around me, they aren't too fast as well, and not sure what can really bring me onto the race. Eventually I'm glad Damien moved out on the Japanese horse and create lots of room on the inside. So which helps,
And just looking at the replay, we're watching it as we speak, Vincent, sort of you were happy to sit a couple of lengths off the horse that was on the leader's back there. Was that just to try and keep your options open at the middle stages of the race?
Yeah, exactly. And, at first I tried to stay off the rail, but eventually I really couldn't because Sumion and Badal is keeping pressure moving into the one-off position. So I just have to accept that on the rail and work for the next step and see what's open in the next few strides.
Congratulations, Vincent. I just want to say you ride this horse extremely well from day one. You give him a chance, you ride him like the best horse. And there's not many jockeys in the world that do that with good horses. I want to congratulate you. I admire the way you ride him, and you do a really good job. I just want to say two things. One thing here, you can make a long run on him, but he can't sustain it. See what happens on Sunday when he got held up. And it was more impressive because he come out at the 300. And when he come out at the 300, because you had been held up, he quickened and went boom. And the race was over in 2 strides. Normally, when you make a long run on him, he can't do that because he's got to make up that 5 or 6 lengths. Did he feel to you as though at the 300 when you come out, he was going to win and just explode like he did?
Yeah, it feels the same. It's always better if there's another horse in front and he could chase down, because he wouldn't stop until he go past the other horse. But, it can always be a little tricky when I hit the front too early. But on that day, our mind is just to go all in, basically. So It didn't hang in as bad as before, and when he quickened up, he just feel like fully let down until the last few strides.
But that was what I'm trying to say to you, Vincent. He didn't hang in as bad because normally you make your run from the 600 to the 200 and he gets tired. Yeah. On Sunday, your run was from the 300 to the winning post. So he was full of energy and he looked so good. But it's the circumstances of racing. First up, you had to go back on him. You didn't have an option. But when you got a good gait, he's beautiful. He can race that 4 lengths closer. It's just perfect for you. And you ride him. The best thing you do is you ride him with confidence. And if you ride a horse like confidence, oh my God, like that with confidence, he's unbeatable. So congratulations. Well done. Great ride again. And it's a great combination.
I agree with everything that Shane said. The only thing, the little bit that I disagree with, he can't make a long run on him. He made a long run in the Derby one year. He had to make a long sustained run. And I thought his first up run, when they upped the tempo from the 800, I thought that was an incredible win. I mean, for me,
maybe he's not as dynamic.
Well, no horse is going to be as dynamic when when you drag it out.
I'll just pull you up. I've never said that he can make a long run. He's done it many a times. Yeah. It's just that when any horse can't sustain it, superimpose, they just can't keep going for a long period of time. He can make one, but his run will come to the end at the 200, and then he battles. On Sunday, he never battled. He was just explosive because he had been saved for that extra 200, but he can make a long run, Clint.
Very cool.
Hey, Vincent, what's his best distance? 1,600 metres we know is just unbeatable. 2,000 metres. Hutchi believes he could come to Australia and win a Cox Plate at 2,000 metres. What do you think?
Yeah, can really run to 2,000 as well. It really depends how he's good enough, and of course the mile, we go for the mile because it seems the best for him in Hong Kong, which Beauty Generation have been retired. That's why we focus on the mile, and 2,000 in Hong Kong can sometimes be a bit tricky if you get a outside draw. It's not that fair. The mile is a little bit better, so that's why we always focus on the mile.
Talking of the mile, Vincent, what are their plans with him? Are they thinking of? I know they've talked about from late last year of perhaps travelling. They want to keep this winning sequence going, but have they got any idea where they want to go? Because just before you answer that, want to pitch that I think a good option for him would be the All-Star Mile here in Melbourne, and I'll tell you the reason why. I don't think there'll be the level of opposition there might be in Dubai or Japan, and there's a lot of money up for grabs, and I think Flemington would be just ideal for him. But what are their plans?
Very likely Japan, I think, because I think the owner first choice is to Japan. He loves Japan. And probably Francis also think about Japan. So
it's an easier trip, I suppose, in terms of the flight. You've only got a few hours then, so it might be, from that point of view, a touch easier. Yeah,
definitely. And although he haven't been traveling for a long time, but he learned so quick, and you just need to remind him about traveling, and it should be fine with only take us 2-3 hours, I think, to Japan, Tokyo. So it's close enough.
It's a bit different to Australia. Vincent, you know this horse so well. On Sunday, was that the best he's been for you? Is that the best he felt?
Definitely one of the best. And physically, he has been better this year after a long break. And mentally, at 6, he's even better than before. He's so much calmer on the day that me and the handler was a little bit unsure, like, why are you so quiet today? But when he...
That's a good sign.
Yeah, but when he get out on the track, I can feel, he feels extremely good. Like, he feels great. But only at the parade ring, he's so calm nowadays. So, the mental maturity also helps with his performance for sure.
Hey, Vincent, just a quick note. Francis Lloyd's done an amazing job with this horse as well. Local trainer, local jockey. It must be a real buzz to have that element and dominating in Hong Kong at the moment. So a little special for all the Hong Kong people.
Well, definitely in this difficult time as well, with with different problems in our society, and just hope this light up a little bit of the spirit.
And Vincent, for our international audience, tell us a little bit about yourself. Why being a jockey? Did you fall in love with being a jockey watching it? Is it a family connection there, or did you're inspired by the deeds of the likes of Shane Dye, for example?
No, actually, when I was a kid, my dad was only watching on every weekend, and me and my mom feel bored by that, and we always go out actually. So it's not from a racing background at all. Just fell in love since I started riding equestrian when I was a kid. And I just love riding. That's my passion. And being able to ride horses, it just makes me feel great, and also to ride winners, of course.
Vincent, a couple of quick questions which will be interesting. To me, you changed as a jockey probably 5 or 6 years ago. You were mediocre. You went to England in the off season. Two questions. Do you think England helped you? Because from me, you're a far better jockey now than you ever were. You're in the top bracket in Hong Kong. Do you think England helped you? And if it did, what did you learn there that you've taken to make you a better jockey?
Yeah. I'm really grateful that I always, try to learn as much as I can to challenge myself all the time, to improve. I know it's tough in Hong Kong. That's why I always look for ways. And, in Hong Kong, you have ridden here a long time, and, how tough it is. And we never really have time to get experience for like local lads like me, because we only can go away in off season, and sometimes people already feel like mentally or physically tired after the season. But I was like, if I want to improve, I have to do something. And when international days come, I always ask international jockeys for help. Of course, Gerard helped me for France for few summers, and then I asked Ryan to help me as well. And I told him I want to ride in UK, and definitely UK helped me to improve a lot. And because I also ride for Mr. Mark Johnston, which is one of the greatest trainer in history, and he doesn't go to races, some races, but there's only one instructions for all the jockeys. It's like, ride how you feel. So there's no other instructions for jockeys. So basically trust myself, and I, walk the track and feel the track, feel the horses that I never been on, and that come with some success, and that build up my confidence that I can actually trust my feelings to ride. And when I come back to Hong Kong, it's just a different person. I sometimes, I don't ride for instructions anymore. I ride for how my horse feel, and results come.
Well done. Congratulations. Not listening to trainers all the time. Finally a jockey.
Well, actually, it's funny you bring that up, because Vincent, I've noticed particularly in the last couple of years, you're happy to probably, a lot of Hong Kong racing is, find a position, get them out of their comfort zone to find a spot. But especially in the last 12 months, I've noticed you've been happy to be a little bit more patient, maybe come back to find a spot where you're happy. I've seen it multiple times this season, and you can really see your progression in that regard.
Yeah, I think the thing is, we are always taught, like since apprentice, we're always taught by listening to and following instructions. We couldn't learn that in Hong Kong. Like we can't learn trusting our own self in Hong Kong. So when I'm overseas and trainers like Mr. Mark Johnson, they just, let us do our own thing. And
that gives you confidence.
Exactly. Yeah.
You got to back your judgment, Vincent. And I've been trying to get that across to jockeys for years and years and years. Not everything goes to plan. But when you want to change something in the race, you can't be thinking about the trainer, what they're thinking and telling you. So congratulations. Well done. You're riding extremely well and you've done a great job on Golden 60. And let's hope it can continue. And I'm sure it will.
Yeah. Hey, and Vincent, while we've got you, when you've had some success comes with some financial rewards. Now, when Shane was actually at the top of his game, he was buying Ferraris and the like. No. Is there something that Golden 60 has provided you where you've decided to go out and have a splash a little cash? Has you've given yourself a little gift at all?
Not. Well, I have constantly doing investment, but I never have time to look at stock market and all that, of course. But just some stable income stuff. So it's all mainly into investment. I did get I changed a new car because one of my cars is so old. So that's all I did.
What did you get?
I got a Porsche electric.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
And the thing is, the government is giving account for electric car, which is like over 30% discount, which I think is a good deal. So,
hey Vincent, just while we got you as well, quickly looking ahead to tomorrow's racing at Sha Tin, Seasons Bliss looks a good chance for you. He's won his last two. How did you think he could go?
Yeah, and it felt great at Gallops. Normal work for him, and I think he has a good chance for sure.
Would he be your best ride tomorrow?
I think so, yeah. I think so.
That's in race 9. That's horse number 7 in Seasons Bliss. Vincent, unfortunately, a part of this show that you've got to commit to is that Shane Dye is going to find a winner that you're going to ride on Saturday, and he's going to tell you how to ride and tell you how to win. Shane, have you picked out one for this week that Vincent's going to win?
I haven't actually had a look, but I do know something. I can give you a little bit of advice about a horse you're riding. Oh, don't listen to that trainer, Casper Founds. He won't give you the right instructions, okay?
What horse is that?
What was he like as a boss, Vincent? Casper, was he good or nasty?
Well, depends how you look at it.
Depends on the results.
What about when he backed one and you slaughtered it? How was he?
He did swear at me with all words in Cantonese in the parade once.
Oh, very good. Okay.
So horses called Rocket Spade.
Rocket Spade you're riding. He won the New Zealand Derby, Vincent. I'm being serious now. You got to watch him. He doesn't have gate speed, but if you dig him out of the gates, he'll pull extremely hard. I watched this horse a lot. He wants a mile to 2,000, the distance. So you're going to have to let him get into a stride early and leave him alone. Whether you're running 9th or 10th or last or 5th or 6th, it's irrelevant. But if you push him early, oh my God, after 200 meters, you won't stop him. He'll pull. And that's the key to that horse, to leave him alone and let him get into a stride. That's the only bit of advice I can give you, mate. I'm not saying he's going to win, but that's just trying to help you out of the gates. Don't dig him. He'll pull hard. And trust me on that. I've seen him.
Understood. Thank you. I was 160. Come back.
Now I don't have to tell Casper.
Hey, Vincent, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. We'd love to see you in Australia where we're all based at the moment, but we do follow you each and every week in Hong Kong. You're doing a brilliant job and we love Golden 60. So thanks so much for your time.
No, thanks for having me and thanks for the support.
Brilliant
Good
stuff.
luck, mate.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Vincent Ho, wasn't he an absolute gentleman?
Yeah, he really has progressed a lot as a rider. What Shane said is totally spot on, and he's really improved. And I think, as Shane mentioned, that travel overseas. And isn't it interesting, a trainer giving Shane, a jockey, the option to ride him how they want to, and then all of a sudden they get a bit of confidence in their own ability and their judgment.
But see, in Hong Kong, when you ride, you go out there and the trainer gives you your set instructions, more or less, like most trainers do in Australia, because they've got form experts doing their ratings or video or speed maps, But you got to give the jockey Ryan Moore, he would ride on feel and whatever. He would have instructions, but if they don't go right, then he reverts back to us. Same. I used to ride like that. And that's what Vincent's just said. It's about feel and backing your own judgment, but more importantly, having the confidence to do it.
I think the tough thing when they give jockeys instructions is, things don't go to plan. Like, all of a sudden a horse that you think's going to lead doesn't lead. And then I think it throws a lot out. You can't have too much, I would imagine, Shannon. I don't know, but you can't have too much of a plan because it invariably you're dealing with animals. They're not that predictable in many senses. So you've got to leave it to the jockey. Yes, you might have a rough idea of what's going to happen in a race. And I'm not one of those anti-maps. I think they're a good guide, but they're a guide. That's what they are. They're a guide.
I love how people have the speed map and, but that's not where the horse should be. Well, hang on. It's not. They're not electric cars and they don't have to sit in a grid position. That's just a guide chain.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. But you got to have a plan before you go out there, but you got to be open to changing straight away as soon as those gates open. But there's a very good saying. I don't know whether I've said this or not on the show. Lester Piggott, one of the greatest jockeys of all time, if not the greatest jockey, said about riding instructions. Good jockeys don't need riding instructions and bad ones can't follow them.
It's very true.
I think it sums it up perfectly. Hey, just putting a full stop to the mile, Golden 60, outstanding. I would love Racing Victoria. If they've got a marketing budget for the All-Star Mile, whatever that marketing budget is, I would pay that horse an appearance fee. I would fly him, pay him an appearance fee. If it's $500,000 or $1 million, so be it. And then I wouldn't bother using any other marketing because that's the only marketing you need. Simple as that. Whatever they need to do to incentivize him to go out of his comfort zone, because the $3 million first prize won't be enough. I think a guaranteed million plus the chance of winning 3.
You might not need to give him too much as long as they paid for his trip. And then, it's because the cost wherever you go, it's the same probably if you're going to Japan or you're going
but
obviously
it's still easy
Australia.
to stay in Hong Kong and win the same sort of money.
Well, not only that, you could also, you've got the Hong Kong would then bet on the race and they would bet on the meeting.
Good
so
call.
It's a huge...
And broadcast it.
It's a huge... The broadcast side of it could be massive for them. So I think it's something that they should seriously look at.
See, Richo, this is interesting. See, the Hong Kong Jockey Club brought out the jockeys and everything, right, for the invitation and for Sunday's race meeting. I think it cost them around 4 million Aussie dollars to get the jockeys and everyone there to ride in that. 4 million they spent on private planes, quarantine, guards, cars, everything.
Plus
Can you imagine
fee?
Australia spending $4 million just to get jockeys here to ride? They wouldn't do it. And if you want the best, you got to pay for the best. If they want Golden 60, give them money. Roger Federer gets it. Tiger Woods gets it. Why can't Golden 60 get it? And he's entitled to it, and it's a draw card.
100%.
You know what? It's
100%.
what brings anywhere. It's universal, isn't it, around the world? The good horses are what get people to the races.
Correct.
You would have. Can you imagine the crowd there on the day as well? you'd have a lot of people coming down.
Then can you imagine the racing media would be doing the same as the Melbourne Cup though? All the prize money's going overseas. They'd be hating on it again.
Winks, when she was racing in Sydney, I went one day to the Queen Elizabeth. Oh, my God, it was so exciting. I even had a tear when she won. It was just amazing, the atmosphere, the hype she brought. Good horses do that.
No doubting that. About $1.40 it paid Golden 60 in the Golden Mile. I steered our audience into Sallius the Place, which paid $3.60, Shane. I know that you have in the run sheet here, give Shane some time to tell Richo how good he was getting Sallius at $3.60.
I didn't even know, so well done, Richo. Congratulations, mate. You deserve it. It's good that you can get 1 out of 50 right. Well done, mate.
I sensed that was coming my way.
Are your cricket tips any better?
They're outstanding, mate. I can assure. Hang on, I haven't done.
Richo tipped one to me the other night. It was $1.09 at the cricket. I said, Richo, it's $1.09. He said, yeah, but they'll win.
It should have been $1.04. There was value there. Exactly. You're mate. I'm merely the host. You're the bloody genius. I don't get into your lane. And talking of genius,
sweep for home now. Gatherno on the inside. Veandercross has come very wide after him. Veandercross in front of Mannerism. Veandercross answering the urgings of Shane Dyer head in front. Mannerism coming at him. Veandercross looked to have the race won 100 metres from home. Mannerism has got it. Number 8, Mannerism has got it.
genius or slaughter, or as we like to call it, octagonal, after Shane provided an absolute perler for octagonal to win a Chipping Norton, or the Veandercross where Shane provided an absolute stinker in a Caulfield Cup. Who gets the genius and who gets the slaughter, RS?
Well, this was on, I've even forgot, Wednesday.
Happy Valley Race 2.
Yeah, race 2. I'm just trying to look up the names. I forgot. Jolly Forever and the fifth horse, Success All Stars. We can do the 2 in 1 race. We're going to put it up here. This is very interesting. Now, out of the gates, this was a good ride by Teton, a very bad ride by Luke Ferraris. And what I'm going to say here, I hope he's listening and he'll learn a lot from it, right? Because he's only a kid and he's got to learn. Now, he's got him inside here. You'll see Teton get checked up here. He got
Hang on, can we just pause it there for a sec? Which one's which, Shane?
We're going to go back to Lucky Forever. Okay, he's third last in the yellow
black
cap.
and yellow.
Yeah. Jolly Forever, sorry. Success All Stars is Luke Ferraris on his outside. Now, up here, you'll see Jolly Forever get checked. The jockey got time. And up here, it's coming up here now. You'll see it now. That's a check coming there. He gets checked. Budale got time. Now, they walked in this race and went really, really slow. Like you could have run faster than them in this race, Richo. It was just that slow. Now, you see here, Luke's going forward on this horse. Now, because the pace is so slow, he's got the favourite inside him, the horse to beat. He should know this. He should have got up here quicker and got the horse in front of him here now and pushed him across to the fence and held him in, and he would have been 1 off. He's 1 off there, but he allows him to dictate. And next minute, the jockey comes out on the inside. Now he's going to be 3 deep again. Jolly Forever up in front of him, Forever, who's the horse to beat, is up here. They've run a 25.08 and then a 26.3. He's 3 deep. There's nothing wrong. Just stop it here, please. Stop it here. Now, there's nothing wrong with him being 3 deep there if he goes forward down the back. Now, the pace in this race is a 26.3. I've never seen a race go so slow, right? The class 5 horses, they don't quicken. Now, he had the favourite inside of him, and this is jockeys who've got to know what the favourites are in the horse to beat inside of him. He's got them locked away. Roll it here. Now, up here, for some unknown reason, he lets him back a bit, and watch Teton. Teton says, they're going too slow. I'm going to pop out now, right? So he pops out. That's okay. Luke's is sitting back there and should have gone with him. Watch Teton go. He's gone, right? Luke's still sitting there back there. I call this missing the boat. Right? He's missed the boat. Now, Teton gets suspended here because he's trying to get up and around before the turn. He hasn't covered any extra ground at all. It's a straight line. And he gets in here, 1 off the fence. Look where Luke is. He's 8 lengths off them. Can't win. The race is over. They went from running a 26.3 to a 23.6. So that's quickening the pace about probably 16 lengths. So if you have a look here, he comes out now, the race is over and he keeps going. And I hope Luke looks at this and just learns, because he's a young kid and he can ride. His record's very, very good, but he's got to be a bit more aggressive in Hong Kong, especially when he's pushing something. I know you're not allowed to push jockeys around, but then he could have pushed that horse across to the fence easy. And if the favourite is going to take off down the back and they're going slow, it doesn't matter what you think about your chance. You've got to try and go with it, because that's the horse to beat, and he'll learn a lot from that.
That is brilliant.
I think Shane's spot on there, and I'm a big fan of Luke for a young kid. But as he said, he's a young kid. He's still learning. He's got a great record already, but, he'll watch things like that and hopefully listen to what Shane's got to say and take it on board, because he did a similar thing a couple of runs back on a horse, a couple of runs back with Farfar. He was outside it at a key stage, Shane, and I thought he could have had the favourite locked away. So it's just a bit of awareness what you're saying of what's around you and what's transpiring in the race.
Someone said to me the other day, geez, you love bagging jockeys. I don't. I want them all to ride well. That's why I'm giving my opinion to try and make them better and realise what they're doing wrong in races. And I'm sure he'll learn from that. Teton realised down the back they had walked. He's on the favour and he said, right, I ran second. See, Luke should have realised that horse, Jolly Forever, 2 starts ago, had run second in a 2,200 metres and he was back and he took off. So there was going to be no reason why Jolly Forever was going to stop in that race because 2 or 3 runs ago he didn't. So he wasn't going to then. Good ride, Teton, and that's it.
Any other rides caught your eye?
Well, this is one on which was a very good losing ride, and this is what you got to do. This is Gaitos, race 7 the other night. He's drawn out gate 10 in the yellow colours. Watch this. He didn't run the mile out last start. Now he goes back to the fence. Beautiful, saved him. Which you got to do from an outside gate on a horse that may struggle. You can forward it on. He gave him a good ride. It doesn't matter. If you want to forward it on, he relaxed.
Joe was good on the winner there. You see at that point he kept You and My Everything out 3 wide, and all of a sudden now that the favourite or one of the favourites couldn't get in, and Joe ended up winning the race.
Gave him a beautiful ride the whole race back. If here they fought it to this 500, this is what you do. He's ridden him for luck. He saved ground. Now, if you watch, this horse here's run ended at the 50 metres. He had his chance to win, but he just run ended. He saved ground, never went around a horse, went back to the fence like Joe's been doing, and he finally got a run and he dashed through. But his run did come to the end, I thought, 50 metres out, but he gave him every chance. Very, very, very good ride. And he got beat.
Hutchi, was your performance of the week?
Oh, look, I thought that one of the better performances of the week was actually on one that I don't think it was necessarily a bad ride from Joe, but it was just the way that the race unfolded on Master Delight. That race rated pretty well. There's a couple of horses that'll be headed towards the Derby. You'll see when they jump out here, Joe, there wasn't much pace in the race. There's only Orpha St. Paul's who stepped a bit awkwardly. So Joe wanted to be positive. Now Zach probably just kicked up enough on Fast Most Furious to make a couple of them work. And now Joe's thinking I'll probably be left 3 wide, no cover. So he presses on, and at that point, you'll see Orpha St. Paul's kick up. Now he's done too much work there already. So now he decides to come back. He gets in a barging match late with another rival in the race as well. So he's copped a bump late on. I thought this was a tremendous performance from Master Delight in defeat. He stuck to his guns. Fast Most Furious had done nothing. He sat out of that battle. Zach just kept the powder dry, and he got there late. And look, the race rated pretty well.
He's not giving up, is he?
He didn't give up, and they're going to go towards the Derby with him. I thought he fought on really well. So he's a nice horse, Master Delight, and I think he'll go well. Senor Toba was in the same race, a bit short for him. It'll work out a good form race, that, but I thought Master Delight was very good.
Yeah, he loomed up Senor Toba and hit the line really stylishly. All right, grab your pens and a book. We're going to school. When we go to school here at Hong Kong Racing, we try to learn all about the world of Hong Kong racing, and we've got a very special guest, handicapping and race planning manager for the Hong Kong Jockey Club. And Ian Malpass joins us. Ian, thanks so much for your time. Tell you what, you've had some big jobs in your life, but RS Dye is ready to ask you a lot of questions, Ian, so I can simply say welcome and good luck.
Morning, Richo, Clinton, Shane. Thanks for having me on the show, and I'll do my best to help Shane out.
Hey, firstly, what's your how do you review International Day? Everyone in Australia was tuning in, everyone around the world was tuning in. We thought it was a fascinating meeting.
Oh, it was. Obviously, that we had that incident in the sprint, which sort of was a bit of a duller on the day. But obviously, those sorts of things are hard to forget mid-meeting. But in terms of performance, well, Golden 60, what more can you say about him? I mean, it was just brilliant. It was dubbed pre-race as his toughest challenge. Brilliant ride by Vincent. Got the gap to 300 and dash clear. For me, it was his best performance of his career to date. The ratings will reflect that, and I think deservedly he'll be rated, if not outright, maybe equal the world's best miler after that performance. It was outstanding.
It's interesting. You had it down as his peak. I suppose he had a good benchmark to go on with against some of the Japanese, Ian. But how about with Love's Only You? That form obviously we had a surprise packet runner place, but she probably on my stuff rated very high. I know there wasn't the margins in that race, but she continues to go around the globe and perform at an unbelievable level.
Yeah, she's a beauty. I mean, these Japanese horses that travel, they just run so well everywhere they go. Mathematically, she's not going to get anywhere near her peak performance for that race, as you say, because the second and third horses are already going to get significant peaks out of that race. So her best performance mathematically was when she won in Hong Kong in April, when she won the QE2. That was also matched with her run, her win at Del Mar in the Breeders' Cup Fillies and Mares. As I said, yeah, she's going to rate slightly below those figures, but take nothing away from the performance. The run in that race was similar to a Breeders' Cup race where she never really looked like she was going to threaten at the top of the lane, but once Kawada, put her head in the gap and said, "Go girl," asked for full effort, she darted through late to win narrowly. She's great will to win. She's a star, and hopefully, she's as good in her second life as a broodmare now.
So we had a big incident in the sprint. So the rating, how that will rate, will be interesting. The Vase was the one that appeared a little softer. Is that the race that'll be soft from an international rating point of view?
No, it actually is going to rate this. The winner, Glory Vase, is only going to rate marginally behind Golden 60 from a mathematical point of view. When he won the Vase 2 years ago, he actually got a rating of 125, which is, that's a serious rating. He won that race by 3.5 lengths. On this occasion, he's pulled a length clear of the second horse Pile Driver, who I thought ran a fantastic race. The speed was right on in that race in the middle stages, and it really set it up for the strong stays at the end. And Pile Driver camped just behind the 2 leaders, hit the lead, rolled into the fence. He was only gobbled up in the last 50. But with Joe and Maria saved up for his big finish down the outside, he's going to run to about 123, which is a couple of pounds below his peak rating from that race 2 years ago, as I mentioned. But yeah, great performance nonetheless. Anytime you get a horse that rates 119, 120 plus, we're talking serious international performances.
Yeah, it's interesting, Ian. I mean, we bring up, I've just was reading something, of course, that I think it was James Willoughby wrote about. I want to talk a little bit about the Japanese horses and why we see these international ratings, and it seems like they're not really getting the respect that they deserve a lot of the time. We have a lot of the Europeans that are obviously high rated a lot. We see it here in Australia when they come out for various races, and due to the nature of the racing in Japan and their performances, why is it that they aren't rated a little higher? I mean, it's quite clear around the globe with their dominance in so many of these races that they're the benchmark. They're clearly the benchmark. So why do you think that is?
Well, I know there has been a concerted effort to try and lift the level of the Japanese horses in the last few years on the methodology that we use. I'm not really too familiar with James Willoughby's process, but it's an argument I hear regularly. I mean, these horses, they travel all around the world to these carnivals, and if they don't win, they run well just about every time. So the world's really, I suppose, the last 10 years, I would say, really woken up to how strong they are. In terms of our level, it's hard to really know. I mean, a lot of their good horses the last 4 or 5 years have been fillies and mares, so naturally they carry less weight in a lot of these contests, so it is harder to get them up. But even their colts and geldings, we have a look at a horse called, I think we're going to talk about a horse called Euphoria that won the Tenno show, probably the strongest form race in the world this year, without going through it with a fine-tooth comb. But he beat Contrail, who then won the Japan Cup next time out, and he beat Gran Allegria, who won the Mile Championship. Hishi Iguazu was 5 lengths behind. He nearly won the Hong Kong Cup. So he's a super talented horse. He might run, I think he is running on Boxing Day in the Arima McKinnon, so he'll get an opportunity to improve his mark. But overall, yeah, it's maybe something we need to keep looking at these Japanese horses. I
think the essence of what he was saying in his piece was just that in like the likes of Hong Kong and Japan, you don't get these big margins. A bit like in Australia, probably we don't get some of the margins due to the way we race on better, firmer tracks, the way it is. Whereas in England or those places, you can win by 3 or 4 with another 2 or 3 back to second, third, etc. Whether or not that's part of the process, I'm not sure. But yeah, it just said that there was this where the pecking order doesn't seem quite in the right place. Doesn't feel right at this point in time. Yeah. But it's an interesting discussion.
Yeah, it's a bit like the Longines World Rankings, which never quite feel right, but that's a separate topic altogether. Ian, just educate our audience for those that are new to Hong Kong racing in regards to handicapping and the class system. Because I know it was interesting, just as a throwaway comment, Hutchi and I, in one of our earlier programs, he spoke about Casper Founds last season, had all his horses going through the grades, and now they've sort of found their marks, and now he has to reboot. For our Australian audience and some other international audience, they might find that hard to comprehend. Can you take us through this whole process?
Yeah, so as you probably mentioned before, there's 5 classes in Hong Kong, classes 1 through to 5. Class 1 being better quality horses. Above them, we then have our group races. In terms of comparing it to, say, places like Australia, we do put the horses up through the ratings probably quicker than Australia. But likewise, we do find that we do drop them a lot quicker. Having been the handicapper in Western Australia for a while, it's pretty much the opposite. A lot of differences in the system. We're more lenient with horses being dropped for finishing closer margins, and then horses that are out of form, we do drop them a lot quicker, sometimes 5, 6, 7 pounds at a time for a bad run. It means that the horses move more fluidly up and down the ratings system, and the idea of that is to try and make the handicap races as competitive as possible. The horses that are going really well and look like they're very progressive, they go up quicker. Horses that are out of form do come down quicker. So the idea is to, as all handicaps should be, to try and give every horse in the race a chance. In terms of that competition side of things, last year we ran 835 races in Hong Kong. 97% of the races that we run are run as handicaps. And in those races, very few horses, barring some exceptions, are weighted within the handicap. So we don't have horses that are outside the handicap. And the idea of that is to give every horse in the race a chance to win off their rating at that time.
Yeah, and one thing I want to ask you, so the races are on a Sunday, right? And the ratings come out for the races on a Monday afternoon, correct? Do you watch every runner and then change their ratings, or is it computerized?
No. We some horses, if we feel they've run up to their rating, they won't move. Obviously, if we feel the horse has improved on his form, well, then yes, they'll go up. And if we feel the horse has run below his rating, he will then come down. That's the idea. Yeah.
But all winners go up between 5 to 15 points, more or less.
Well, in handicap races, yeah, we effectively put every horse up. We have a minimum of 5 for winners in handicap races. In very few exceptions, we won't move a horse that wins a handicap race. So, for example, I think Beauty Generation a few years ago won a handicap. We didn't put him up, but for the run-of-the-mill races, yeah, 5 is usually the minimum.
I want to ask you one question, right? And it's always intrigued me. I can see a horse win or ride it, or when I was there, and it might win by 2 or 3 lengths, right?
Yeah.
And you'll put it up 8 points to 9 points, and it's not impressive at all. And then I can see one win by a neck, and it's really impressive, and oh my God, this could have won by 5, and things go wrong, and you only put it up 5. Why do you do that?
Well, we try and take all factors into the race into account. The big one, I think we might show a replay of when Wellington won his 3rd race. We take everything into account. Ease of victory. We take into account tempo, race shape. Obviously if a horse is unlucky or anything like that. So this is Wellington. This was his 3rd start in a race. He won his first 2. You can see Zach. It's like a breeze up here. He just breezed up to him at about the 250. Went to the line with a lot more to give. The official margin in this race was 1 length, but the basis of our assessment is a pounds per length formula. So sort of 1 length over a sprint trip would be a base of 3 pounds. And then we interpret the performance from there. And obviously you can see how much he had in reserve. We actually put him up 10 for winning that race.
But there was a big gap between 2nd and 3rd and 3rd and 4th, whereas most races are very confined. So that was a little bit different because that race is unusual. It was spread out. I can see races where a horse may win by 2 lengths, but then the next are within 2 lengths of each other because the handicap system's so fair and you got them so evenly based. The other question I want to ask you, I've noticed there in Hong Kong that when you do put them up 13, 14, I'll just explain to listeners. It's like, so what happens is a horse, take it humans. You might have an Olympic runner who's at school and 14, and she's 14 or he's 14 and looks really impressive. But then you go and put them in the Olympic trials and they get flogged because they're too young and they're there already and they lose their confidence. I see you put some horses up 13 and you do it for 2 runs and they're really impressive. not many go on. Some do, don't get me wrong, but the majority of them go 13, 14 or 12, and there's maybe 28, 25 to 30 points, and they just hit a brick wall straight away.
Yeah, no, you're dead right. They do get onto their mark fairly quickly in Hong Kong. That's all part of the
System.
The aim of trying to give every horse in the race an opportunity. I mean, you'd be spot on. You see some horses that might start off the arbitrary rating of 52 in a class 4, and within 4 or 5 starts that horse is going to rate mid-90s because they're just so progressive. They're just too good for the horses that they're running against when they first come into the system. So yeah, they do go up. Yep, sorry.
Putting them up that much doesn't help the owner, doesn't help the horse. It's not fair on the owner because he's actually losing prize money by winning 2 races in class 3. He can't do that anymore. And not only that, the horse is getting thrown into the deep end as the 14-year-old kid is. And it sometimes affected them. Me personally, I think the rating should be 10, instead of these 15s, because if you start going 12s, 13s, 15s, you get them out of there too soon. That's only my opinion.
Yeah, and that's an opinion we hear from a lot of people. I guess it's also unfair on the people that are chasing that horse. It's going to be 102 starts. It's only running off 75 as well. But yeah, no, it's something we do here. But as I said, the aim for us is to try and make his races as competitive as we can. The winning strike rate, we ran some stats recently of the winning strike rate of horses based on what they went up previously. And naturally, the best winning strike rate for a horse to win next start is the horse that went up 14 at its previous race. The next best winning strike rate was 13, and then I think it then went back to 5, and then so on and so forth. Because, as you said, we know these horses, they're quick improvers, and they might run off 52, but in no time, they're going to be rated in the 90s or even higher if they're good enough.
Ian, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Great insight for our audience.
No worries, guys. Have a good one.
Brilliant stuff. So Ian Malpass there.
I've also got to bring up Shane. Also, he's talking about used to only win by half a length. I remember when Shane used to trial them for John Size, and he used to sit out the back. Shane, do you remember this? You'd be 100 metres last and as wide as you got. And he thought that he was out of camera shot. He didn't realise. He didn't realise that the Chinese camera crews had a special camera just on him.
I could tell by a feel of the horse. In my opinion, at trials was, there's no point trialling them amongst horses because the kickback comes and it hits their face. And I wanted the horses to stay happy. And also, I don't believe in giving horses hard trials. You get them fit race day, you have a few trials. And we always used to trial Johns 3 or 4 times, but I knew how everyone was going. And so you wouldn't see me in the shot. They'd run 100 metres last, and I'd come in and say, John, this will just shit in when it runs. and it would go out $15 because no one could see it on a trial. So they actually changed the trials because of John and I to stop it.
Let's find some winners. Normally a Sunday. This week it's a Saturday. All right, Hutch, a couple of races that you're keen to steer us into. And being a Saturday and the fact we were on a Friday, you would be locked and loaded with all of your form done. I know RS has still got some work to do, so we never put him under the complete pump that we do with you because you're Hutchi's honkers. But what race have you found?
One very interesting runner on the weekend. He'll be popular in the market. I'm not sure what price he'll be because there's quite a bit of depth. But we spoke to Vincent Ho about Season's Bliss. But in the same race, and I think Shane pointed this horse out as one of Joe's better rides going back a few weeks, Romantic Warrior, who's 2 from 2. I've got him marked pretty short. I've got to have him around that 230 to 250 mark in that race.
Race 9.
Race 9, number 6. He goes up in class, and of course he goes to Sha Tin. Now he's a horse that's very interesting because they might run out of time, but I'm not sure whether or not this is him winning last start. Of course, when he was back on the inside and Joe bided his time and he managed to win.
So he went up 7 points for this.
His first win was enormous, which he actually got 8 points for, but they left him in the class. He drew wide, sat off the track the whole way. They just don't do that at Happy Valley. And I took him on that night because of where he'd drawn the run he'd get, and he won by a length and a half. Well, I learnt my lesson. I backed up with him. I was happy to follow him that day. He was very short, but there weren't bad odds about him. But he's also an interesting runner because will they try and get towards a derby with him? I know this is only 1,200, but he is a horse that's potentially, he's going to be a 4-year-old. He's going to be eligible for that 4-year-old series. And just to let you know, I was just going through because I wanted to see whether or not with the Group 1 Goldmine stuff, whether or not he'd be really suited in terms of his pedigree to that 2000. Because this is the time of year in Hong Kong where you got to work out which ones are going to be the sprinter milers and which ones are going to be the 2000. And it's as it is really here in Australia.
Yeah.
You see them that they're able to get a trip even though they don't really stay at.
What's his breeding, Romantic Warrior?
Well, he's by acclamation, which is the miler, but his mare, Folk Melody, and I'm just looking at what she's done. She's a street cry. So she has got that little bit of a female line to suggest that they can get out in trip as well. So I think at this point could be all right up to a mile, but past that it's going to be a little bit of a query. But some really good information there as far as the Group 1 Goldmine's concerned over a bit further a journey. But 1200 up in grade, Romantic Warrior, I thought it'd be hard to beat.
Shane, Seasons Bless versus Romantic Warrior.
Don't know. Romantic Warrior, as Clint said, was very impressive first up. I better put the glasses on so I can see.
That's fine. They're
I
stylish.
had to take the son out last night for dinner, so I'm a little bit behind this. 5 Elements will go all right, the 2, because he's got gate 6. He had a very wide run the other day. California Concord won well the other day. He's not the worst. Not an easy race. The 8, how do you pronounce that?
Any of Fortune.
That was a good run. I think that might
Good
be
run
one
the
of
other
main
day.
dangers.
Gate 12's a worry. There's good pace in the race. Armour Eagles trialled terrible, but ran all right first up. I'm just looking. Yeah, Clint's right. He's a nice horse. He can win. Of course, he's going higher. I don't know whether he'll run 2,000 metres, though, but a mile he might. But he looked good the other day, and the way he raced 1,400 would suit him too, you would think. But there's good pace. Team Spirit will lead, I would say, with maybe War of Courage going forward. There's a few there that can go forward, of course.
Can I slide you back a race, Hutchbuster, to race number 8? Apparently, you want me to concentrate once again on Joe Maria. Hey, tell you what, when Zach's away and others are out, Joe just jumps off the page. He and Vincent Ho are going to have some big battles. Joe's going to ride a stack of winners.
Yeah, he likes it when Zach's not there.
Yeah.
And I think it gives him a bit more confidence, and he does have some good rides, but I think it also shows, I mean, he has good rides, but he seems to get them delivered more often than not. When one or the other's not there, actually, when Joe's out and Zach's the same, it's the same sort of situation. But look, Blaze Warrior's a very nice horse, and also, he's another one. He's another horse he's a 4-year-old. He's going to be Derby eligible, and he's got the sort of rating that can already put him there. Now, we obviously liked him last day. I looked at his finishing speed efficiency here, which basically takes into account how fast the track is, but this race was run perfect for him, 100.8%. So they went fast. He sat back off at Joe. He quickened up. And yes, he won with a little bit of ease. You can see the horse's ears are pricked, but that race was run perfect for him. And note that third horse, Tempest Express, came out and won as well for us last weekend. So it's the right sort of form, but this is a horse more so than Romantic Warrior. If they decide to go that Derby path, would be well suited. He's a Sebring. The Group 1 Goldmine stuff, they've had a look at the pedigree. This horse should get the trip. So whilst he's been winning over 1,400 and he's won over shorter, he could be something pretty special, this guy, Shane. He's got the pedigree to suggest he can get over a bit more ground, and I think the best is yet to come.
Yeah, it could be Clint. Not disputing that. Just having a quick look here. You're on the C+3 track. Sometimes that can favour leaders, and if it does, Highland Fortune comes into this race. Just quick look, there doesn't seem to be much pace, and he's racing extremely well. And from gate 4 with Teton on, he's going to get a lovely run in front or box seating. But I agree, he's a nice horse. He's going to go higher, Blaze Warrior. He's done nothing wrong. And you would think the improvement from first start to second start was big. You would think there would be improvement from second start to third start. The one to beat outside of him and Quinellas for everyone, definitely Highland Fortune, just looking at it.
Just quickly, you're right about the C3, Shane, as we know, but I did look at this meeting last year. There were quite a few on paces that won, but there were also horses that won from well back in the field. So I didn't see any really major pattern at this particular meeting last year, notwithstanding we don't know the conditions will be exactly the same, but year on year it's pretty accurate, and it seemed a relatively fair track there last year.
Hey, we got messages, and we love all the messages we get from our audience. And a lot of them are trying to learn how to punt in Hong Kong. Downloading the form guide. A question here from Peter in Glen Iris. The priority on the second right-hand column there, after the horse's weight and the rating increase, etc., has a priority column. What does that mean?
Well, you don't always get a run in Hong Kong when you want to. So certain horses have a priority.
Yep.
It becomes if you don't get a run when you enter this time, then you get a priority for the next start. And then trainers also have, runners they can enter where they get a priority. So it's a good lead that the trainer really wanted to run in this race.
Every meeting, there's like on Saturday, 10 races. So trainers normally put horses in every race. There's 24 trainers or something. So there's going to be all their runners in every race. There's 14 in a race. So naturally, not all of them are going to get a run. So the trainer has 2 priorities every meeting, and they're more or less guaranteed a run. So they go top of the list before people that don't put priority on. But you only get 2 a meeting, so you got to use them wisely. Otherwise, your horse can be eliminated, and that's how it works.
And you also get a priority. The horse gets a priority if he doesn't get a run one start. The next time he runs, he's up the list.
There's another thing also, Richo, which is interesting. So tomorrow, this is a Class 2 race, 1,400 metres. What is it, an 80 to 100, I suppose? I haven't got it in front of me.
Yeah, 80 to 100.
Okay, so there may not be another 1,400 metre 80 to 100 race for another 5 to 6 weeks, right? So he knows this horse has to get into run, otherwise he can't race for 6 weeks. So that's why they also put a priority, whereas a Class 4 1,200 can race every week. So if he misses out this week, he's guaranteed of a race next week. So it also is for trainers what races are coming up where they need to run their horse because there's no more races for them for a while.
And I think this is what you're talking about, trainers that struggle when they go or find it very different to Hong Kong. This is part of it. You can't pick and choose where you can go to Mo, you can go to Yarra Valley. There's a 1,200. Don't worry, there's a maiden next Monday. Don't worry, there's another race Thursday. No. This is, you have to have the horse ready by, there aren't that many options sometimes. Sometimes you have to come back in trip. You have to change your method unless you're very good at planning and you can work out that they can progress, and then it doesn't always work out to plan. But you're dictated by the program rather than you picking and choosing.
And the reason why I've raised this in regards to a trainer is breaking news. It's just coming through this morning at time of recording, or this afternoon. The Hong Kong Jockey Club announcing that this outstanding young New Zealand trainer who's captured over 40 Group 1s and he's not 40 years of age, his name is Jamie Richards, will be a new trainer in Hong Kong in huge news. Wow. That is an unbelievable coup for Hong Kong.
It's a coup for Hong Kong, and it's a win-win. I think it's great for Jamie. I mean, he was going to break all the records. He's a fantastic trainer, super hard worker, incredibly professional. You don't have that record unless you're really on top of your game, and I think he's a brilliant addition to Hong Kong race. I mean, that's the best name they've had added to the ranks for a long, long time.
That's huge, Shane.
Well, it's good because he's got a very good personality. He's nice, and I know he's been very successful, but he might actually be the right type of person there. Sometimes they get the wrong type of person there, which just doesn't suit, even though they've got a great record, training record. Jamie's got both. He's a very nice person. I'm sure he will adapt. And he's coming at a very young age where they think, the Hong Kong Jockey Club, that he can last a long time instead of getting a trainer in their mid-50s who only gets 10 years. Jamie can be there for 25 years, I suppose, 30 years at least.
Yeah. Well, Chiakao Racing will announce that Mark Walker will come from Singapore back to New Zealand to head up their operation, New Zealand/Australia. There was a lot of talk about Jamie Richards coming to Australia at some stage. So no, goes to Hong Kong is a huge coup, I reckon, for the Hong Kong Jockey Club. That guy is a star, and he will do a huge job. He's probably in a press conference at the moment. It probably won't be like the press conference that D.A. Hayes had when he returned, where they opened the curtain and out he walked and the press corps got up and standing ovation and Hazy walked in, the king is back. It might not be like that.
Did he have a bit of a strut?
Oh, of course he would have had a strut. Yeah. He would have walked. He would have loved it, like they would if RS Dye announced he was going to be a trainer. Is there any chance that can happen?
In the world.
Thank you. Just double check.
I hope in the world I'll never train. I've actually had a couple of good offers to train, but I've never, ever been interested in training since I was a kid, and that's something. It's too hard. It's too hard of a job. I've got the utmost respect for trainers. I might bag them and criticise them the way they are, but, mate, it's a really hard job and they deserve everything they get.
Well, you've got a very similar thing. You're owning a nightclub, so same in my mind. You're trying to herd the animals. Hey, Shane, do you have a best bet or an early play for tomorrow that you'd like to leave our audience with?
Nothing with really value that I'd like to mention. I'll tell you what I think can win again. Good Buddy in race 5. He's got an awkward gate 12, but that might help him. He looked very good at the trials the other day. He finished way back at the trials, but he just looked good. He's won his last 2. He's getting up in the ratings, but it's not a strong race, that. And he'll
race
sit
5,
back
number
3 or
2.
4 wide, and he'll come down the outside late. He hasn't been impressive winning, but he's still been winning, but he can win again. It doesn't look a strong race, and I'm not too worried about 12. He'll be 3 or 4 wide, doesn't matter.
Trained by David Hall, who's got a nice little run going at the moment. And every time Shane just drops that little, there's one there at a price.
There's an interesting ones. I think Happy Daily is an interesting runner in that race, but
it'll get back and run on. The only thing last start, Clint, I will say it run well, was the form out of that peak-to-peak race isn't that good. That was a false track that day, and peak-to-peak struggles at 1,400, and it was third. It was a 80 to 1 or 60 to 1, and he battled on and won. And I think that was in that race, wasn't it? I haven't got it.
Yeah, that was his run 2 back. He then ran behind Sight Spirit last start. I thought he just might settle a bit closer.
No, he ran well.
Yeah.
All the analysis on www.hutchishhonkers.com. Hutchi's in great form. We gave a little small back on Wednesday, but that's fine. I've graphed it all. Anytime he has a little correction like that, he gives himself an uppercut. He goes and does an extra 4 or 5 hours of form, and he bounces back big time.
I was saying to you the other day, some days, and Shane, you'll appreciate, there's some days you have losing days and you feel like you shouldn't have. Wednesday we had a losing day, and I felt like we should have.
Yeah, I actually came away with it thinking I'm so glad I didn't lose as much as I thought I could.
Exactly.
And also you got to understand that the handicap system's so even, and these horses are going along, finishing so close to each other. It doesn't take much to be unlucky and have good luck. You know what I mean? And it's just a toss of the coin sometimes. Sometimes it falls the right way for you. Sometimes it doesn't.
That's the beauty of the game. And listen,
we love it.
Can I just give a special mention before we sign out as well, Richo?
Yeah.
I wanted to thank Little Birdie's, the studios, for
thank
providing
you.
this for us, and Borko for the great job he's done putting it all together
when
for
he's
us.
been COVID free.
When he's been COVID free, which has been a little while. But no, I just wanted to throw that in there. You're probably going to do it anyway, but I thought
beautifully done.
I better do it.
Hey, Shane, we've had a lot of fun doing this. We're coming to an end of our season. No doubt next season will be bigger and better. If Hutchi's Honkers can afford you, we would hope you would come back next season.
But it's not about me, Richo. What about you with all your cricket and 60 Minutes and Channel 7? Can they afford you?
Cannot possibly afford me, but I'm going to do it anyway.
That's how nice of a bloke you are.
Just happy to hang out with you two.
No, Shane, we appreciate you. Have been both of you have been very well received. We appreciate it a lot. We'll be back. We will be back. But
No, you're interrupting my golf day. I know that.
Okay, well, you go and get ready. I've ordered some new clubs. I might try to bring them up.
Not today. I've got to do the form for tomorrow. I haven't got enough time. But normally Friday in the afternoon, I sometimes sneak out for a game of golf, but not lately because
we're heading to the Magic Million, so we're going to get you in a headlock.
We're coming to see you, Shane.
We're coming to see you, but thanks everyone for listening. We've had a lot of fun presenting it to you, and hopefully we're giving you not only some winners, some terrific interviews, but some insight into Hong Kong racing. We'll do it all again next year.